All right, welcome back, guys. In this episode, we are going to be covering the Commanders at the New York Giants. This one was an ugly one offensively. The Giants won 14-7. On the Commanders side of the ball, Sam Howell is a guy we've been high on, especially lately. He did not have a very good fantasy day, and honestly, I thought he would. He was 22 of 42, 249 yards, 0 touchdowns, an interception, 2 rushes, 15 yards, 10.4 fantasy points. Just a rough week. I mean,
Yuck.
by no means is that a good week. So, I can admit I was wrong on saying that would be a good start. The Giants' defense is randomly deciding to wake up. Um, Through the air, Scary Terry had a solid week. 6 catches, 90 yards, 9 targets, 15 points flat. Solid week, what you'd expect out of him. Curtis Samuel kind of took a bit of a hit in this one. He only had 4 catches for 25 yards, but he did have 8 targets, so that is something we like to see. But he finished with 6.5 fantasy points, only played 55% of snaps.
How'd the holder do?
Yeah. I mean,
How'd the holder do? Jahan Dotson, the holder.
the holder was a lot better this game. He saw 8 targets, caught 5 of them, 43 yards, 9.3 fantasy points. It's just, do I trust Jahan Dotson yet? No. Should he be rostered? Yeah, towards the end of your roster, but I mean, yeah, he should. Logan Thomas had a solid week for a tight end. 4 catches, 51 yards, 6 targets, 9.1 fantasy points. I mean, Scary Terry was really the only offensive threat, or he was, other than Sam Howell, that broke double digits. So that's how you know it's going to be a tough week. Someone that I am growing concerned about is Brian Robinson. I don't understand why you lose a game 14-7 and Brian Robinson only carries the ball 8 times. Granted, it was only for 23 yards, so he was getting stuffed a little bit, but at some point, you don't try to implement more runs into this game because it was close still. He only played 49% of snaps. The 8 carries, 23 yards. He got a touchdown, which absolutely saved his day. He had 1 target through the air, didn't catch it, 8.3 fantasy points, 49% of snaps. Now, his first 2 weeks, Brian Robinson, 13.6 fantasy points, 28.9. Since then, it's been 7, 13, 8, 13, 8. So by no means is he, he's not terrible, but after those first 2 weeks, I'm sure people were thinking this could be a very good season for him. But I think now we're seeing, on average, he's probably going to give you like 10 fantasy points. They also play the Eagles next week. And he did have 13 points against them last time. But again, that was mainly because he had a touchdown. So it's scary. It's scary right now for Brian Robinson because for whatever reason, Antonio Gibson.
It's hard to say what we're going to get out of that offense on any given week.
And Antonio Gibson doesn't go away. It's weird. They played him 38% of snaps. He had 2 carries for 7 yards, 2 targets, caught both of them for 24 yards. So it's like when Brian Robinson's in the game, he gets more volume.
Did he get hurt? Because Chris Rodriguez had like 7 carries in this.
I
don't know why.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson did not get hurt in this game.
Brian Robinson, neither one of them got hurt because their third string running back got 7 carries. One less than Brian Robinson.
Yeah, Brian Robinson was not hurt. And yeah, that was going to be my last touch on was, Chris Rodriguez. 7 carries, 31 yards, played 13% of snaps. Why he got 7 carries when Brian Robinson got 8, I just don't have an answer for you. But yeah, the Commanders' offense is shaky, very shaky at times. And, Scary Terry, I feel comfortable starting every week. Curtis Samuel still is kind of a flex start I don't hate just because he does have upside. When you get 8 targets, you have upside. Again, only catching 4, so it was a tough week. Brian Robinson's one of those guys where his snap share is kind of like James Cook, but he's not on the Bills. He's on the Commanders. And Antonio Gibson is just, I don't even know. He's not fantasy relevant at all, but he's somehow relevant in that offense. And you only get 7 against the Giants.
It's hard to navigate.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know about the
Like I said,
Commanders
you
right
just
now.
don't know what version of that offense you're gonna. There's no consistency with it really, aside from like Terry McLaurin.
Yeah. And on the other side of the ball, someone we saw have a very good day was Tyrod Taylor. He was 18 of 29, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 8 carries, 25 yards, 21.6 fantasy points. He finished
Have a
as the
day, Tyrod.
QB6. Or I guess Brock Purdy and Kirk Cousins still have to go, but he is the QB6 as of now. Very solid week for him. Obviously, no one was going to start him, but that does mean that, a couple people ate through the air. One of those being Saquon Barkley, 21 rushes, 77 yards, 3 catches, 41 yards, 4 targets with a touchdown, 18.8 fantasy points. A Saquon Barkley week, someone we're starting every single week. Darren Waller, a very monster week. 7 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets, 22.8 fantasy points. That is the type of production that the Giants signed him for. And when you have a quarterback that can capably get him the ball and give him 8 targets a game, those are some of the results you can see. A very good week for Darren Waller. And again,
Yeah, they had his cat line for his catches at like 3.5. It's like, oh my god, that's easy.
yeah. And I mean, in the receiver room, it was ugly.
Yeah.
It was very ugly. Jalen Hyatt actually led in fantasy points. 2 catches, 75 yards on 5 targets. He got 9.5 fantasy points. No other Giants receiver got over 3.5 fantasy points. You saw Isaiah Hodgins get 3.3. Wan'Dale Robinson, who we were kind of high on, he played 60% of snaps, so right on par with what he'd been playing. Only saw 2 targets, caught one of them for 22 yards. And then Darius Slayton, the other offensive threat that we were kind of, keeping our eye on, he played 84% of snaps, saw 2 targets, 1 catch, 22 yards. It just,
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of planting a flag with the Wan'Dale Robinson thing last week going into this week. And I mean, seeing this disappointing performance against the Commanders, it's hard to say that I'm confident with any of these options, going into any week aside from Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller.
yeah,
And I I was hoping that Wan'Dale would kind of, show out this week and give a little consistency, but it's going to be just how it is with the Giants receivers. Extremely inconsistent, boomer bust week in, week out. You hate to see it.
yeah. But I mean, that's all I really had for this one, unless you had something else to add.
No, that's all.
Yeah, it was an ugly game. I mean, 14-7, you're not going to get too many fantasy points. Darren Waller owners, Saquon Barkley owners, Scary Terry owners are very happy, and everyone else is kind of like, dang, that was a crappy game.
Yeah.
But that's all we had for this one. As always, drop a like, subscribe. We appreciate the support. Drop any questions you have in the comment section. We'll make sure to get to those, and we'll see you next time.